A damp, earthy smell fills my nostrils as I stare down at my hands, rough, calloused, caked in dirt. I'm holding a blade, small and worn, but sharp enough for the task at hand. To my right, there's a pile of unpeeled potatoes, dirt dusting their rough skin, like remnants of some untold history embedded in their surface. I shift my gaze to the left, where low fences stretch out, holding clusters of chickens scratching and pecking at the dry earth. Their soft clucks and rustling feathers create a subtle symphony that underscores the quiet of this place. Other livestock in the distance in loosely sectioned off pens, but there's something peculiar here. The cows, though similar in shape, are metallic. There forms a strange fusion of machinery and livestock. Near them, people in simple traditional garb sit with old metal buckets, milking, or rather extracting some unknown liquid. The metallic substance drips into the pails from these mechanical creatures. The air is heavy with a mix of rust and soil, a scent thick enough to taste, permeating this forgotten place. Above, a small wind turbine stands against the hazy sky, spinning lazily, cutting through the silence with its relentless whirring. In the distance, the outline of an old barn looms, wooden beams sagging under years of neglect. A car sits parked before it, rusted to the core, an ancient relic of another time. The bonnet is open, exposing an empty space where the engine should be, like a lifeless heart. I know somehow that it's mine, or at least it feels like it belongs to me, though I can't place why or how long I've been here. The sky above is a murky canvas, thick with clouds and gritty particles that turn everything a dull, greyish brown. Suddenly, I notice two distant lights in the sky, faint but unmistakably moving towards us, a dark silhouette against the polluted sky. It emits no sound, no rush of wind, just a fleeting shadow that passes without acknowledgement, ignoring us as if we don't even exist. The crunch of gravel catches my attention. I turn toward an unused road, fractured by cracks that sprout with wild vegetation, like nature's quiet rebellion against neglect. A sleek, modern car approaches, its dark frame smooth and untouched by dust. The wheels are strange, advanced, with a hollowed core and no visible driver. It glides to a seamless stop, as if guided by some invisible hand. A tall and slender figure steps out from the back seat, dressed sharply in a charcoal grey tailored suit and tie that starkly contrasts with the worn, rugged landscape. He moves with purpose, unhurried, almost rehearsed. A booming laugh catches my eye, and I turn to a large man coming towards me from the direction of the barn. His frame is imposing, his body is solid, rounded. He wears a wide-brimmed hat, which casts a shadow over his ruddy face, and suspenders stretch over a loose-fitting shirt, while his trousers are pulled up high over his ample belly. His boots are worn but well kept, and his hands thick and calloused. There's a joviality in his expression, something about the eyes, jarring. It's sharp, calculating, belies his modest apparel. I find myself drawn toward the two men, my footsteps hesitant yet compelled by an inexplicable urge. Around me, the others remain absorbed in their task. I'm abruptly introduced to the suited man. He extends his hand to me. His grip is firm, though he seems unfazed by the grime covering my hands, my nails lined with dirt. I feel an involuntary question escape my lips. When will my car be repaired? I need to leave. Silence hangs heavy in the air, and I catch a flicker of something unreadable in the suited man's eyes before the obese man responds. When the harvest is complete, he says with a forced cheeriness, we'll fix your car then. There's an underlying tone in his voice, too cheerful to be genuine, and I feel a strange sensation settle in my gut, something between unease and resignation. Turning away from the two men, I catch a glimpse of a woman working quietly by herself, head down, hands moving in a rhythmic fashion. She's dressed similarly to the others in simple attire, her bonnet slightly askew, dirt smudged across her cheeks. Her movements are methodical, almost mechanical, as if her actions are more instinctual than intentional. I move closer, squatting beside her. She doesn't flinch, her eyes focused on her task until I speak. "Wait," I say softly, extending a hand. She finally looks at me, only to brush me off, muttering a dismissive, "I'm busy," before shifting away. A strange pang of rejection gnaws at me as I return to the pile of potatoes, gripping the knife and peeling with a practiced ease. The movement feels ingrained, as though my muscles remember this task far better than my mind does. The sky thickens from murky grey to thick indigo as night approaches. I look upward, expecting to see the first stars pierce through the twilight, or the glow of the moon rising above the horizon, except that the whole of the sky is an empty uniform, bereft of any stars. There is no cloud to obscure them. The sky was inalienably clear, yet not one star flickered across the expanse. The air starts to grow cold, and everything is wrapped in a silent, eerie aura of some sort. The only perverse consistency is the firm rotation of this wind turbine within this ever-increasing alien landscape. And the absence of any anchoring familiar night sky heightens further my disorientation. It is as though the world here obeys different laws, or I am further from the reality I knew. The barn looms in the dimming light, and I watch as the others slowly drift toward it, disappearing one by one through the crooked doors. I linger, waiting for the last person to enter before I approach, drawn by a compulsion I can't quite explain. Circling to the back, I crouch beside a cracked window, peering inside. Rows of wooden pews fill the space, each one occupied by silent figures staring ahead at the makeshift stage. At the front, the obese man stands, his form casting a hulking shadow against the dim lantern light. His voice reverberates through the barn, though the words are foreign to me, a language I don't recognize. I shift my position, catching a better glimpse of the tables before him, and my stomach twists. On a long table lie mutilated limbs, arms, legs, and other unidentifiable body parts, remnants of something unspeakable. The sight is surreal, nightmarish. My stomach lurches and I feel bile rise in my throat as the full horror settles over me. Suddenly, a voice behind me cuts through my shock. "You shouldn't be here." I whip around to see the same woman from earlier, her face smudged with dirt, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and pity. Her voice is low, urgent. "You need to leave. Now." I look back toward the obese man as he lifts a dripping, mangled organ to his mouth, biting into it with relish as the crowd watches in eerie silence, their faces devoid of emotion. My heart races as her words sink in, and I feel a sudden need to flee, to escape this place that feels like a nightmare wrapped in reality. I back away slowly, casting one last glance at the woman, whose gaze is fixed on me, with something that almost resembles a warning. Without a second thought, I turn and bolt, my feet pounding against the dirt as I move further from the barn. The sounds of chanting grow faint behind me, muffled by the fog that rolls in, swallowing the landscape. I reach the abandoned car, my rusted relic, and grip the edges of the hood. Empty, just like before. It dawns on me that I may never leave this place, that I am trapped here, bound to a purpose I do not understand and cannot accept. I turn and slip into the darkness, the weight of her omen heavy in my chest. As I get further away, the sound is deafened by the pounding of my own heart and the whisper of the wind.